Okay, let's unpack this. We have a fascinating stack of sources detailing what looked, for all the world, like a peaceful death, a quiet passing.
Right, seemingly natural causes after a morphine injection. But it just completely unravels.
It really does. It blossoms into this complex triple mystery. You've got inheritance law, you've got double identities.
And of course, this wonderfully eccentric noble investigator pulling the strings.
Exactly. So our mission today, really, is to connect those knots. We start with Miss Agatha Dawson's quiet demise.
And then somehow we link that to a waitress found dead out in Epping Forest, and then this incredibly elaborate stage kidnapping.
It's a wild ride. It really shows how surface appearances can be, well, incredibly deceiving, especially when there's a fortune involved.
Absolutely. And guiding us through all this, we have Lord Peter Wimsey.
Right. It helps to know a bit about him. He's not your typical detective figure. First-class honors, modern history from Balliol, served in the Great War Major, Rifle Brigade, suffered shell shock afterwards.
Yeah, that context is key. He's described as having these sharp Delagardy brains from his mother's side, not the beef-witted whimsy temperament of his brother.
Right.
And his criminology. It's listed as a recreation along with collecting books and music, but it's framed as this harmless outlet for natural inquisitiveness.
A way to apply that sharp mind, trained in history and, well, tempered by war. He looks for patterns, for the truth beneath the surface.
Aided by his former Sergeant Bunter, of course. Always Bunter.
Always. And that focus on truth is exactly what brings the case to him. The whole thing kicks off when a doctor, basically ruined professionally for suspecting murder.
Yeah, he approaches Wimsey in this little Soho restaurant. Needs advice. Desperate.
This is Dr. Carr. He was the attending physician for Miss Agatha Dawson back in 1925.
And he suspected foul play. He raised, as the source puts it, hell for everybody, but couldn't prove a thing.
And it cost him his practice. He basically says to Wimsey if he'd just kept quiet, been the complacent man of the world, he'd still have his job.
A cautionary tale right there. So the first mystery, Miss Dawson dies in her sleep, apparently, after a morphine injection. Prescribed, all accounted for.
But Dr. Carr thought it was too quick. Maybe a deep coma mistaken for death. But medically, nothing solid.
The initial suspicion, naturally, falls on the niece, Mary Whittaker. She stood to inherit everything.
But suspicion isn't proof. What really gives it legs are the stories from the former servants. They remember something specific.
Oh yeah, this is crucial. A really dramatic incident just before Miss Dawson died. Mary Whittaker tries to get the old lady, who's quite ill, to sign some papers.
Calls them income tax forms.
Right. But Miss Dawson wasn't having it. She apparently screamed, "You want to frighten me into my grave before my time?"
Wow, that scream. It connects that quiet death to a potentially huge motive, doesn't it? Because it's all about timing.
Exactly. This whole plot hinges on a legal deadline. You have to understand, the date 1925 was absolutely critical.
Okay, explain that. Why was 1925 so important? This is the legal detail that makes the whole thing plausible, right?
It is. The sources are clear. Mary Whittaker's inheritance depended entirely on Miss Dawson dying before the 1926 Property Act came into force on January 1st, 1926.
And if she died after that date?
Well, if Miss Dawson died intestate without a valid will after the act kicked in, the definition of issue, basically who counts as next of kin for inheritance, changed.
How did it change?
Dramatically enough that Mary, as a great niece, might have been completely cut out.
Cut out entirely, so the money would go.
Potentially, yes, she could lose everything. And if no other eligible heirs were found, the estate, a substantial fortune, could actually lapse to the crown, specifically the Duchy of Lancaster.
So she's facing inheriting a fortune versus possibly getting nothing, with the state taking it all.
Precisely. That looming deadline created this massive, urgent incentive for her to, well, control the timing of Miss Dawson's death, down to the specific year.
Okay, so she had a ticking clock for murder, essentially, and pulled off what looked like a perfect crime to beat it.
Almost perfect.
Almost. But breaking that kind of carefully constructed crime, that takes more than just standard police work.
Which brings us back to Wimsey.
Right.
He doesn't just look at the forensics. He looks at the social dynamics, the history, the things the police might miss while they're focused on alibis and fingerprints.
He works with the police, though, with Detective Inspector Charles Parker.
Yeah, they're a great pair. Parker is meticulous, rational, evidence-driven, provides the solid procedural groundwork.
Yeah.
Wimsey provides the leaps of insight, the unconventional thinking.
And he brings in his own, let's say, unique resource.
Ah, yes. His secret weapon,
Miss Alexandra Catherine Clemson.
He calls her his ears and tongue, his cat's whiskers. Tell us about her. She's fascinating.
She really is. Whimsy basically weaponizes her social position, or lack thereof. She's described as a superfluous woman, that Victorian term for older, unmarried women without a clear role.
Seems harsh.
It was the term of the time. But Whimsy sees her value. Because of her age, her gender, her sort of invisibility in certain circles, she can go places and ask things a young man couldn't.
She can wear her long, woolly jumper, blend in, and just listen. Master the art of gentle gossip for information.
Exactly. She can smell a rat in the dark, as Whimsy puts it. He sends her down to Leehampton, where Miss Dawson lived, to gather all that local color, the sensitive details about Miss Dawson's last days.
The kind of stuff you only get over tea, not in a formal police interview. It's really smart, using social dynamics as an investigative tool.
While Miss Clemson is doing her thing, Whimsy and Parker are digging into the legal side, the family tree.
Yeah.
They get help from a relative, the Reverend Hallelujah Dawson.
Hallelujah Dawson! Seriously!
Seriously. Described as a dark-complexioned man, grandson of someone called Wicked Simon. He was actually getting an allowance from Miss Dawson.
Okay. And does this family tree digging turn up any other likely suspects? Other claimants who might complicate things for Mary?
They check. There's an uncle, Father Paul Dawson, but he became a monk, the disgraceful and papistical one apparently, and died back in 1922. So, a dead end.
And Reverend Hallelujah himself.
He's ruled out too, due to an illegitimate line of descent. So legally, the focus stays tight on Mary Whitaker and that crucial 1926 deadline.
Right. But then things stop being about legal technicalities and history. They get very real very quickly.
Yeah, the investigation suddenly escalates. Horrifyingly. Bertha Gotobed, she was one of Miss Dawson's former servants.
The sister of the woman who answered Whimsy's advert for information.
That's the one. Bertha is found dead out in Epping Forest.
Someone is silencing potential witnesses. How did she die?
The initial finding is syncope after a heavy meal, found among some bushes. But the scene, it just screams staged.
How so? What felt wrong?
Whimsy spots it immediately. There's a ham sandwich next to her, a bottle of base beer, and a newspaper dated the exact night she disappeared.
Okay, so...
It's too convenient.
Two.
Picture perfect for a random death during some kind of outing. Whimsy points out details like, why would ordinary people handle a beer bottle with gloves on? It looks like someone tried to make it look like an accidental, maybe slightly sordid death. Camouflage.
Trying too hard. This is where the killer starts getting sloppy, maybe. The first murder was clean. This one, less so.
Definitely signs of desperation creeping in. And this death leads Parker down a new path. He traces a 5-pound note found in Bertha's handbag.
And where does it lead?
To a mysterious woman named Mrs. Forrest, living in a flat in South Audley Street, quite posh.
Okay, who is she? How does she fit in?
Well, she's the opposite of the respectable Miss Whitaker. The sources describe her as overdressed, lots of makeup, expensive but maybe slightly vulgar furs. Musquash, they call it.
Musquash, like muskrat fur.
Yeah, not mink. And she seems to live irregularly, expensively. Parker stakes out her place, sees she suffers from neuralgia, keeps a hypodermic syringe.
Okay, suspicious. But how do they link her to Mary Whitaker or the murders, especially since Mary has an alibi for Bertha's death?
Ah, yes, the alibi. Mary Whitaker apparently has a cast-iron alibi. She was staying way out in Kent with a very devoted friend, Vera Findlater, during the exact time Bertha Gotobed must have died.
A devoted friend. That sounds convenient.
Extremely. So Parker has this mysterious Mrs. Forrest. Mary Whitaker has an alibi. The investigation seems to have hit a wall.
And then things escalate again, don't they?
Explode, really, into the final tragic phase. Mary Whitaker and her devoted friend Vera Findlater suddenly disappear.
Both of them.
Both gone.
Yeah.
Then Vera Findlater's found near Crow's Beach, murdered brutally, killed by a heavy blow to the head.
Oh, no. So the immediate assumption is...
Kidnapping gone wrong. That's the story the killer wants people to believe. A violent gang took Mary for ransom, killed Vera when she tried to stop them or resist.
It sounds like something out of a melodrama, very theatrical.
Extremely theatrical. The killer's really piling on the stagecraft now, but it's too theatrical.
And Parker's methodical work, combined with pathology, starts poking holes in it.
Big holes. A Scotland Yard pathologist, Dr. Faulkner, examines Vera's body. He confirms that the fatal blow to her head, it was delivered post-mortem, after she was already dead.
What? So all the signs of a struggle?
Pure camouflage. Added afterwards to support the kidnapping story. And Parker, examining the scene, finds footprints, supposedly from the gang, but they were all made by one person.
wearing 2 different pairs of shoes to fake multiple attackers.
That's incredibly brazen, cold-blooded calculation. Just chillin'. But they still need to link it all back. How do they finally connect Mrs. Forrest, the overdressed woman in London, to the prim Miss Whittaker and these violent deaths?
The breakthrough comes from the quietest member of the team, Miss Clemson. Remember her?
The gossip gatherer. What did she find?
She's tidying up in the local church, being helpful as always, and she finds a crumpled piece of paper, a discarded list.
A list of what?
It's a confession list, written by Vera Findlater before she died, detailing, quote, the lies I told for M.W.'s sake.
N.W. Mary Whittaker.
Exactly. And the list specifically mentions lies about a man in South Audley Street.
South Audley Street. Mrs. Forrest's address. So the alibi Vera provided was fake, and Vera was feeling guilty about it.
Precisely. That guilty conscience, written down. It blows the alibi wide open and points directly back to Mrs. Forrest's flat. Parker now has the confirmation he needs.
So how does he make the final leap, the definitive proof?
Fingerprints. Remember Winsey visited Mrs. Forrest's flat earlier, posing as someone else?
Yes, Mr. Templeton.
While there, he managed to secure a glass Mrs. Forrest had used. Parker takes the fingerprints from that glass.
And compares them to?
Compares to the fingerprints they have for Mary Whittaker, lifted from one of Miss Dawson's checks she'd endorsed.
And
They match. Perfectly.
so Mary Whittaker is Mrs. Forrest.
Yes. The respectable niece created this whole other persona, the flashy, neuralgia-suffering woman about town. It was her cover.
A cover for what? Why create such an elaborate double identity?
Give herself freedom of movement, a way to operate criminally without suspicion falling on the prim Miss Whittaker. It provided her alibi for Bertha Gotobed's murder in Epping Forest, and, presumably, a way to disappear entirely if things got too hot.
Unbelievable. And the final murder, Vera Findlater. Why kill her friend?
Grimly simple, really. Vera provided the crucial but fake alibi. Once Miss Clemson found that confession list, it showed Vera was having second thoughts, likely to split, as they say.
She knew too much and was becoming unreliable.
Exactly. Vera had become the single biggest threat to Mary Whittaker, the one person who could destroy her alibi and link her directly to Bertha's death. So, under the cover of this ridiculously staged kidnapping.
Using 2 pairs of shoes.
Right. She silenced her final witness, brutally.
What a completely chilling end to it all. So, looking back, that very first death, Agatha Dawson's. The one Dr. Carr suspected, we have to assume now.
Yeah, with everything else laid bare, we can pretty confidently conclude it was murder. A perfect crime, almost.
How would she have done it? The morphine was accounted for.
Well, Mary Whittaker had been a nurse. She'd know methods. Perhaps chloroform, easily administered, or maybe adding something like Veronal, a sleeping drug, to Miss Dawson's brandy. Something that wouldn't leave an obvious trace, especially if the doctor wasn't looking for it immediately, perhaps distracted by the accounted-for morphine.
A method a nurse would know, leaving minimal evidence if not caught right away. It only failed because she couldn't stop there.
That's the key takeaway, isn't it? The first murder, Dawson's, was subtle, almost untraceable. But then the cover-up attempts, Bertha Gotobed, Vera Findlater, they become more and more violent, elaborate, and unlikely in appearance.
Because the desperation grows with each step needed to protect the original secret.
It's a classic pattern. Criminals repeating their effects, escalating as the pressure mounts. And that's really the lesson here for you, the learner. The police got sidetracked by the staging, the noise, the picnic, the footprints, the postmortem blow.
All designed to mislead.
Exactly. But the truth only came out through synthesis. You needed the legal knowledge, that 1926 Act. You needed the social investigation, the gossip Miss Clemson gathered. And you needed Whimsy's kind of eccentric curiosity, connecting the dots others wouldn't.
Combining all those different threads.
Right. No single approach would have cracked it.
So what was the final outcome? Mary Whittaker or Mrs. Forrest?
Arrested. Tried, presumably convicted, though the source focuses on the investigation. The estate finally gets settled.
And who inherits in the end?
Interestingly, after all that, it goes to other Whittaker relatives, the next of kin, according to the proper lines, and the Reverend Hallelujah Dawson and his daughters. They end up becoming quite wealthy.
Huh. So some measure of justice, albeit in a very roundabout way.
Indeed. But the most chilling part remains the identity of the killer, the person least suspected. The prim, capable, efficient woman described as an overbred prude.
She turned out to be the most ruthless, the most deceptive.
Which leaves us with a really provocative thought, doesn't it? When information is deliberately faked, When evidence is staged, essentially, when you're facing sophisticated camouflage.
Yeah.
How long can you rely on just logic and conventional methods? At what point do you need that creative, maybe even eccentric skepticism to see past the illusion and find the truth?
That's a tough question, especially today with so much sophisticated camouflage around. How much suspicion is enough? How much is too much?
Exactly. It's a difficult balance to strike. Truly chilling when you think about it.